everybody.
Hi guys.
I am Eliz.
I'm Lilyemma.
I can't remember if we usually do that with
Yeah, I think
You should.
Okay, yeah. But this is Champagne Whispers.
Yeah. It's Blonde Vibrations.
It is Blonde Vibrations.
We are Blonde Vibrations.
And this is Champagne Whispers.
And we are joined with someone today for the first ever guest on Champagne Whispers.
This is really weird. If you can see, like, there's just this person that you're about to get to know, like, very, very well.
Yeah.
But we already know her very, very well.
Yeah.
But, okay. Well, you can say hi first.
Hi.
We just thought, with the title of the episode, you know, it's summertime. This is going to be about, like, moving to a new city where you maybe don't know people.
And it's coming up to September, so students might be moving for their first year of uni.
Oh, cringe. Not like cringe, but somewhat cringe. And, you know, like, people getting new jobs.
Yeah, their first year working out of uni and stuff as well.
God.
Yeah.
And just in general, very, like, a time, you know how, I know this is going to sound really cringe, but you know how, like, New Year's, everyone is like, oh,
Yeah.
a new change. I feel like September is just that for everyone anyway.
100%.
Changing of the seasons.
Yeah. So do you want to, like, introduce... We've actually not introduced you at all. So do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us why we thought you'd be helpful on the episode.
Yeah.
God, that is so, like, introspective.
So I'm Caitlin. I've just moved to London, nearby to Lilyemma and Eliz. And I started a new job last week, so everything's very new. And I think they just wanted to kind of get my perspective on how the move's gone, what I was nervous for and stuff. So yeah, it's still early on. I've not, like, completely settled in yet, but it's I also want to see myself on where I am now and where I'll be in, like, a month as well. So
It's giving the Billy interview.
Yeah.
Like, in a month's time we'll have you back, and then in a year's time we'll have you back.
Yeah.
and she'll look back at the old interviews and be like, cringe.
You can do that with this if you want.
Oh, I hope not.
Obviously don't say exactly where you work, but do you want to give us, like, your new job title, perhaps? And also, well, we know you have moved out before, but maybe just talk a little bit about that, because you've actually done multiple cities.
Which is more than we've
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
I've only done one big move.
Yeah. So it's the same kind of, it's a similar position as I had before. I'm a hair and makeup artist. So I've just started at a new business as an in-house hair and makeup artist, which I thought would be quite a comfortable move. I was wanting to get to London anyway, so it was quite a safe way to do it. And then I've lived in a couple of cities. I went to uni in Manchester for a couple of years, and then I did a year in Kingston. So I was London, but not quite London. But all of that kind of got interrupted with COVID. So I feel like this time I can...
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So I feel like this time I can just, like, enjoy it. And I'm working now, so I have money, whereas I didn't when I was a student. So I'm just kind of excited to enjoy it all, settle into the job a little bit first, and then just really get into the London vibe.
And I feel like it is different, because when you go to a city as a student, no matter where you go, it's kind of still going to give...
You have, like, a warped
Student,
sense of what it's going to be for you, because you're like...
Everything's planned for you, and you kind of just follow what is already done, whereas this time I've got the job, but other than that, you have to find everything yourself.
Yeah,
There's
like,
no student accommodation just
yeah,
to, like, go
True.
for.
Less, like,
Safe?
less just things to help you out with what you want to do. And also, I think there is a difference as well between moving for a job and moving for uni, because, well, not for us, because I think we always had the sense of post-uni we wanted to stay here, but for a lot of people it's like, okay, this is my 3-year chunk, let's just do what I want with
And
those
then
3
you just
years.
move home.
And we talk about that a lot, is that it's crazy, because I don't know if it's a London thing, but then we do know people who have left London after uni. But I always think, I can't imagine going anywhere else after I've lived in London. And I guess if you lived in Kingston, but it was COVID, it was like...
And it was like, where can I
different.
find a job? Like, I was so determined just to find a job. And I was like, I kind of used my savings after uni as well. Like, most people need to move home, save a little bit, and then, like, find their job. And then they can kind of move back out. And I think it's very strong of you to be able to just stay out and not move back home. But yeah, a lot of people do need to go home, save again, like, recollect themselves, and then they can kind of go back out again. And I just needed a job, so it was wherever the job was at the time, that's where I went.
It's also like, this is a slight side thing just off what you said, is that I feel like there used to be so much more of like a stigma of like, don't go home after uni, like if you go home you're never going to get a job, you'll never move back out and stuff. But I almost think with so many people forced to move home after COVID, it has kind of changed the game a little bit.
It's become the norm again. But I think we are now the minority in the fact that when we finished uni or whatever, we were like, we're going to stay in London and we'll get whatever job and stay. Whereas there's so many people, I mean, like you said, I need to go where I'll find a job because you want a job in makeup and hair. Whereas we would do anything.
Yeah, you decide whether you want this city and just do any job, because any job, it doesn't have to be what you did your degree in. You can get a job as long as it sustains the way you want to live, and that's fine. Or I think I was just so determined to like make sure I was going to make it in makeup. It was, I still needed to prove to my parents that I would be able to get something. So,
and it's a different career because you needed to be staying in that field so that you could be building up your portfolio, because you didn't have the novelty of, okay, I've got my degree, I'm going to go work in, say, retail. Because then your portfolio would be on hold, and then you would probably find it harder to get back into it.
Yeah, and even like I didn't really do any freelance. Obviously, I worked on a counter for 6 months, and that just got me by. And I did obviously browse so I could put a little bit of that into just my like CV. But it doesn't. Those gaps don't do anything when you're a makeup artist. You need to always be showing that you're working in order to like show you're busy and show that you're good. And
you're kind of lucky as well, because this is like context, I guess, is that I've known Caitlin for
we've not actually said how we know Caitlin.
I've known Caitlin for probably 10 years, and that might be overshooting it slightly, but I want to say it's towards the decade. And for as long as I've ever known you, makeup has been the way. Even if you weren't entirely sure, GCSEs, whatever, but as soon as you were like, okay, I'm gonna do makeup, it was always that. So every job had that little makeup twist to it. Whereas, like for instance with me, it was like, I want to do law, but all of my jobs have nothing to do with law. So what you're saying, like that you need that, like you knew it from so early. You've got
to tailor everything that you are doing to get the most out of what you need it for. All the makeup, like the retail jobs, to anybody else that doesn't do makeup, it's just a retail job, but I was able to obviously twist that a little bit into what I needed it to be at the time.
Those transferable skills.
And just customer service again, because like I'm working with models all the time now, which is great, but you have to be a very open-minded person to be with all these kinds of people, and all over the world. Like these models come from so many different countries, and you just have to be so like willing to like get to know people and be open and have completely conversations that you never thought you would have.
And I think makeup is an interesting job to do because it's so, what you want to do, especially with someone's face. I can imagine you look at someone, you're like, I want to do this look, but at the same time it's their face and they know what they want you to do, and I bet there's so many different voices.
When I first started, I was really conscious of that, of like, I bet they like their makeup this certain way, but at the end of the day it's what's for the brand, what's for the camera, and now I'm when you're working with professional models, they know that too now, so like they might think that, I don't know, a lighter lip would look better on them, but at the end of the day, they're just there to be the model, not to have an opinion. So it's good. You get a few that have something to say, but most of them are just
not in a weird way, but it's kind of like their face is like the canvas, and then you're just the painter almost.
And I know the brand's the best, so they trust that I'm doing what the brand wants, and that's fine.
This is so off topic, but what is the weirdest or like most awkward exchange that you had with someone? Were they like, no, I don't like my makeup? Have you had that?
Not like, no, I don't like my makeup, but I have had, it's more influencers, so they're not models, and they don't necessarily have like loads of model experience, they're influencers, so they they were doing it for their Instagram, but they were getting paid. So at the end of the day, it isn't about you. You're getting paid to be put on our site. Sorry. So yeah, she just said like, oh, I think it would look better with this lip, and I think the hair would be, and I was like, yeah, but unfortunately this is what I've got to do. Sometimes you can be like open to different things, like you can work a bit more collaboratively with them, but other time, like
if there's
at
a
my
brief
last
to stick
place, yeah, there was a brief, and that's what I had to go with. So you just have to say that. But that wasn't a lot, and that was a particular case, and you could tell why they were like that. So it's fine. She wasn't rude or anything. Like, it was fine, but she had more of an opinion than like anybody else would have had.
Yeah.
I have another random thing.
We're like settling into it all.
Yeah, it feels like, because we've not been with each other all day, so it's like weird catching up, but like we don't ever ask you this kind of stuff. Okay, so my like thought is, it's really interesting, and I know it's gonna sound so dumb, and I feel like sometimes I just say really like simple-minded things, but you doing makeup, I did a law degree, and you're continuing English through as far as it can. Those words. It's really interesting that all three of those are such like distinctively like different routes, but we've all found ourselves in the same city.
Yeah.
And I guess because it is London, so we can only think of that, but isn't it just crazy how so many people are going through so many different like routes in life, but we're all in the same place?
Mine was
thoughts. Anyone else?
Mine was interesting when I moved into my flat last week. The first person that I like introduced myself to that I was now living with was somebody who does like wigs on the West End, and I was like, that's so weird, because that's a niche that I'd done during my degree that I've before I did it in my degree, I'd never heard of anyone doing that before.
What's the job title?
They're called wiggies.
Oh, I love it. It's so cute.
But I'd never met a wiggy before, and then suddenly I was living with one, and then we ended up obviously having just a great conversation because we were both interested in each other's parts of, like, they're both very close to each other, but they also on when it comes to the actual industry, so it was really interesting to hear about each other's like paths to get in there.
I think we had an experience like that, is that when we started the podcast, all of a sudden everyone was in the music industry. Like I don't know if we actually told this story in the podcast. I'm sure we did when it happened, but on fireworks night we were in Peckham. The tube strikes didn't affect us going into Peckham, but for some reason they started up again when we were trying to leave, and we were stood outside the station and we met like this guy, and he was like, I'm ordering an Uber, you can get in it, it's not sus, but like I'm going to Shoreditch and you're trying to get to near Shoreditch. And we were like, like, you know when you can just tell that it's not sus, and we did, and we got to speaking, and we
were with each other.
Yeah, and it was like, it was an Uber, so it was like trackable and things like that. And I can't even remember what his title was, but he was like
something A&R based, right?
Yeah, and he made like jingles for adverts and things like that, and he was going to a Erykah Badu after party at Shoreditch House.
We wanted to.
It was so bad, but it was so like random. And before, I mean, I guess before the podcast it was COVID, so we weren't meeting a lot of people, but we never really had that like, oh, you do so and so, and even like at like,
was he interested in what you two did?
I mean, we didn't like stay in touch, but he was like, oh, that's really cool, and like podcasting's really like taking off right now. But it's crazy, like people when we meet them now will be like, oh yeah, and this is so and so, they're also a musician and things like that, and all of a sudden everyone's musical and everyone's related, whereas back then we didn't have that. So I guess maybe it's just like London and
the more you talk to people, the more, like, I was at work on Friday, and I was just talking to one of my colleagues, and she mentioned that she worked at a certain place, and I was like, oh, like, I know someone that worked there as well. And then I said their name, and she was like, oh my god, I still talk to her. And we had no idea that we had anybody in common. We're completely different ages as well. It was just really weird. And then we just had a minute of like we've got someone in common. Like now I feel like we have something to build upon, talk about.
Also, going back to, you know how you said about the wiggy and how it's such like different like to what you do, and I know again this is probably a very simple thing to say, but from people who are outside of the makeup hair industry, it seems like they would be so close quarters, like you guys are all like, oh, I know that, I probably know some of you, like, but they're such distinctive career paths. It's really interesting.
Yeah, you wouldn't, if you're a wiggy, you wouldn't necessarily do makeup, and makeup artists might have a little bit of experience with wigs, like applying, but they unless you're a theatre makeup artist or something, they don't coincide. And then wiggies do like contracts for months on, or however long like a show might be on, and then she'll be working like 2 till 10 p.m, whereas like I'm 9 till 5. So she was really interested in that because she obviously doesn't want to be like in doing those hours all the time. But yeah, they don't really cry. But she wants to get more into makeup, so we were like talking with that.
I guess before we get into like major questions, we probably should talk about your actual experience moving so far, where you are right now, and the whole house hunt thing, even though it's a bit sore at the moment.
So I'm currently in a sublet. I'm just subletting something for like a month and 10 days. It was just to kind of get me to London, because obviously I got the job and then I was like, right, now I need somewhere to live like quickly. So I just found something that wasn't too far from these two and wasn't too far from where I thought I was going to be based with my job, and just went for it. The room was nice and big.
We've said before, with a lot of people from our experience, we either find the job and you can't find the house, you found a house but you can't get an employment.
And I'm glad it was the job first, because I had no choice. I just had to do it because I was like, I'm going to start on this date, so I need to find somewhere. Obviously you'd offered for me to stay here if needs be, but but I wanted to try and find something myself, so I found a sublet on one of those Facebook pages for a bit, and then one of my friends that I used to work with where I've just left, she's also moving to London as well. So at the end of August at the moment we're looking for a flat for the two of us, which I'm really looking forward to, because my flat at the moment is like, my room's nice and big and it's a great area, like I'm right next to some really cool places.
The difficulty in censoring yourself, like this is what we have all the time. We're like, we found the bar and it's really cool.
Yeah, we wonder how much like people can put together about where we live.
So I really like where I live, but the actual street is super busy, so that's already something that I know I don't want for my next one. And I'm really excited to move into a brand new flat. Me and her, we can really make it our own, whereas at the moment I've obviously moved into like the end of somebody else's tenancy, so they're all getting ready to move out, and they're all like, everyone's kind of here, there and everywhere because they're moving their stuff over to their new place and things like that. So it'll do for now. I can walk to work, which is great.
It's such a bonus. It's what you're having at the moment. It's like changing jobs so that you can walk to somewhere. It makes such a difference, and you don't realise it.
No, and like the tube's great, but if I can save £5-6 a day,
it'll add up so quickly.
Oh my god, that was what I was thinking of when I first moved, was like, right, £150 a month on the tube, like minimum. Like, to not have to do that is great.
Yeah, because I was literally talking about that with someone at work today, because I was like, oh, I'll be able to walk to my new job, and he was like, that's crazy, like the amount, like, it will probably be something like £20-30 a week. Imagine what you can do with that. I was like,
a grocery order easily.
I was like, that's food, like the fact that you're spending that much just getting to work and it's not like expensed or anything is just crazy to me.
So when I work evenings, like during winter or like a late close, I call my parents, and sometimes I like talk to my dad, and he's like, what are you up to? And I'm like, oh, I'm just walking home from work. And he's like, that is crazy that you get to do that. Like, he's like, that is just like, I can't imagine doing that, because I'm from Suffolk, so there's not much public transport anyway, so the thought of not needing to drive somewhere,
that's been all I've known for the past
because you did lift shares.
Even like as a thing in itself, like the lack of need for a car in London specifically is crazy.
And that's all I wanted. My last job, I had no choice but to drive, and it was about an hour and a half each way every day. And it's not just, it wasn't necessarily getting up early and getting back from home late. It was the petrol and how much mileage it was put in my car, and like all the problems I would have with my car, and not because it's old or anything, just because of how much I was driving it. I was just I was spending so much money on it, and like I'm gonna sell my car now, and the relief that I have that I've not got something that could break down next week and I'm gonna have to spend £500 fixing it. Like I don't have that. And I think that a little bit with rent as well. Like, yeah, you pay rent, but you don't. If like something breaks, you don't have to fix it. Like when you're a homeowner, you have to fit the bill. Yeah.
I never think about that.
It's quite like that's why I feel quite comfortable at the moment, because as long as I've paid my rent, I can walk to work. It's not like I've even got to keep a pot for the tube, like for travel. Like I'm in a very good position. I mean, once I get into this next flat, and then I can relax a little bit
once
more.
You've got like actually set rent. I think that's like a good thing about moving to London, is that there's that joke on Twitter at the moment that's like Londoners can't deal with transport anywhere else, because when there's a 10-minute wait for the tube, everyone like hits the roof. But it's like, it's so true. We know someone that recently got a new job, and she was telling me about her first day, and she was like, I had to drive, so I had to start at 7 and then I didn't get home until 6 or something like that. And I was like, God, like working 7 till 6, like that's criminal. And she was like, well, I didn't work 7 till 6 because I obviously drove. And I was like, but you're still switched on, like especially like in that context, it was her first day, and it's like
hyper switched on.
It's like, so your brain is on work mode from the moment you get in the car, if not getting ready,
that's
to the moment you get home.
It was 12 hours before it was, I would get up at about 6, leave the house at 6:40, and I would get back at like 6:30. So it was literally 12-hour days. And it wasn't the worst. It was nice being able to drive, because it wasn't like I was stuck in traffic. It wasn't an awful drive, but it was really great hours. And I said now, like, I do more hours work now than I did there. The hours were great, but the fact that I was driving, like, it meant that even if I left work 5 minutes late, I would be so annoyed, because now I'm going to get back even later. Whereas now I will just wander out of work. Like, there's no
it's
massive
so nice
rush.
walking home from work. And I know this isn't actually that much of a common experience in London. Like, there's so many people who work and have to get the tube. But that's the majority. But the little joy in walking home from work, I have a 15-minute walk and a half-hour walk from my like 2 work places, and I love it. When I can walk home from work instead of getting the tube, I come home and I'm like, I feel like I've had time to switch off.
And you can just pop into like the shop that you needed on the way home. And in London, like, you're walking home, but everybody's around. Everybody's also walking. If you get a nice day, all the pubs everyone's sitting outside of the pub.
Now that you come to mention it, so at my old job, I would start at 6:45 a.m. and it's a very similar thing. I would never do that walk, and before I started the job, I was very concerned about having to do that walk. So like 15-20 minutes ish. And then when I did it the first time, and I was like, oh, there's other people on the streets. We're all doing this right now. We're all commuting. And then as soon as I get to the main road, it would be like it was the normal time of day. And I'd be like, okay, here we go. And the same with like 10 p.m. It'd be like, okay, there's people around. Like, everyone's doing this. We're all on like the London commute. It's crazy. Because if I was at home with the car, it would be different. And I'd be like, you know, in the winter getting into a frozen car.
Oh,
but it's
like,
and your car door doesn't want to open because it's frozen shut.
Yeah, and it's like I'm trying to like squeegee down my stuff and everything, and trying not to like wake the house behind me and everything. But this is like, it's freezing, but let's all just go and do it together.
And you know, when you're walking, there's no like, oh, is there going to be traffic? Am I gonna like get stuck by some temporary traffic lights or something? Like, if I leave at a certain time, I know that I'm going to get to work at a certain time. Like, there's just no variables in that,
only if you decide to stop,
and then or like you, or like you walk a bit slower that day, you might be there like 2 minutes later than usual. But I love that I'm like, well, I leave at this time, so I'm going to be there. And it's only, obviously, well, it's only your fault that you've got no excuses if you are late. But
why are you looking at me when she says that?
I was just giggling. Oh yeah, she is a late person, but actually that was nothing to do with that. And now we had to address it.
But I'm never late for work. Other than that one time that I forgot I had a shirt.
Yeah. We have done so much just talking. Now we'll finally get onto the questions. Yeah. So the final, like, I guess interview style question is, was there anything that made you feel nervous before you moved?
Oh, I'm like not 100% sure. I think obviously the whole the new job thing, my previous role, I'd only been there for a year and a half, but I was so comfortable. I had such a solid like group of friends there. We were all quite similar ages as well, so it was kind of all of our not all of our first jobs, but a lot of our first jobs. I knew every model so on like a really friendship level, and I did the same makeup on each of those models every time they came in, so it was just such a comfortable job. I knew it so well. And I was really confident there, and I think that was nerve-wracking for me, because in a new place I can be very different, and I'm not as social and outgoing. So I think I was nervous for that I wasn't going to find that solid group of friends again. But it's not normal to find those people. It was, I just had it good there, yeah.
And I think with your style of workplace, there is a lot of pressure on friendships, especially you're so close to someone's face for so long, and you have to chat with them,
and they still, so at my new place they still use their models regularly, so all the other stylists and stuff that are there, they know the models quite well, and they do get social, but I just don't, not as much as it was at my last place. We would have one, I'm getting a bit too close to home now. We would have like one model in. And
name them.
List your favourites.
Who did you hate at your last job?
We would have like, say if one was from Germany, we would fly them over. That was just an example.
Hypothetical.
We would fly them over, and then they would be with us for like 2 weeks. So I would be seeing the same person 5 days a week for 2 weeks, and then maybe we would even do something together at the weekend as well. Like it was so social and comfortable, and so I do think I'll get close to people again, but I don't think I'll ever get to that again.
Don't know that. And also, what about like London specifically, because I know you lived in Kingston, but I guess central London as a whole, what's it, kettle of fish? I don't know why I thought you would know. Someone, does anyone?
Fish puns, anyone?
Yeah. Anything London specific that you were like, oh, I don't know about that one.
I think I first of all felt like I needed to like dress the part, very much so, and I think ever since the past 2 months, not that a certain thing happened 2 months ago, but I think I like straight away started to dress better and stuff, like just cared more about what I looked like and everything. So I think I was already kind of in that place before I moved to London anyway, but that was something I was conscious about, even just like walking around on my own and feeling like I fit in. Like I wanted to make sure that I didn't look like I didn't know where I was going or whatever.
That's so interesting, because I feel that the opposite when I go home. Like I think I said on the show before, when I go home I'll wear a whole pink outfit and it feels really weird, and everyone's a bit, why are you wearing that? And then I come back and I'm like, I can wear anything I want to wear, and no one would really even look.
No.
But I've never considered that then opens up so many doors when you're not used to it, that it is daunting, because I'm so used to it. And I think I came to terms with my style because I grew up, I had like formative years in London. I've never considered people moving, having had that, and then having more space.
Because it's like, well, when we moved, so I would have been 19 doing, because it's really interesting because you're 23 doing the move and we were 19, so like there's such a different like perspective. So with the fashion thing, my like nerves was, am I gonna fit in for freshers, because a lot of what I was wearing, like just a lot of what I wear doesn't really like fit to the nightclub setting. So I was a bit like, do I need to be buying these like little outfits that like
poly dresses?
Yeah, like I need like the
and,
little short,
and I need to be showing skin and
like I don't know. It's not. Sometimes it's me, but a lot of the time it's not me. So like, what do I need to be buying, or how do I need to be presenting myself? And I was really scared as well, actually, about going into the flat and everyone just thinking I was weird. And you know, because when you're in accommodation as well, like your room is a representation of you, and it is so personal, and then you're essentially inviting people to see that immediately. So I was really like, God, I don't know whether I need to be like doing it up better or just more. I don't know. So
yeah, I get that.
Because what was your accommodation like?
So I had 3 different accommodations all together. And my first one was, my first 2 were Manchester. My first one was like not very nice, but it was like all we could afford out of the student accommodation. It was so expensive. And then my second year it got a little bit nicer, but
was that private housing?
Like no, my second one was private student flats. Okay, yeah. And that's when I got my like double bed and stuff. But I think I always made it look nice. It was always cozy and like comfortable. Homely. Yeah, and I think I always was like, if I've got nice sheets, then everything else kind of comes together as well. Which I've not decorated the room I'm in at the moment because I'm not here for long.
What's the point?
Yeah, but that's what I am excited for when I do move, is just to make everything really homely and yeah, and that's what we're both excited for. I've got all this stuff at home that I haven't brought. And that's what I'm excited to bring over. And
even we're like planning on redecorating because we're getting a new housemate, and we're like, I can't wait. Like even my room, I'm like, I'm gonna start framing things, and that's exciting. A move or a change is exciting for those bits.
Yeah, especially when you've not got like even when you're at uni, you know you're gonna move out at the end of like at this time, whereas when you do just start a new job in like the real world, there's no time limit on how long you're going to be in a flat. Obviously you might have a 6-month lease, but if you think you're just going to carry that on, like there's no time frame on how long you're going to be in a certain place. So you can make it your own even more. Definitely.
Well, we actually asked you guys as well, a little segue, what would make you nervous about moving to a new place? So a couple of these would be, it's a big commitment if it's not what you expected, or you can't meet new people, which it's like such a big expectation. You were saying about like in a social job, but just in general, whether that is uni, like freshers, that is such a like, who are you going to meet immediately, who are you going to click with, and if you're not clicking with anyone, why?
Also, what if you do click with someone and then that's your only friend, and then you fall out and then you know nobody?
100%. Those people you meet in the first week, they might be great just for that point in time, but they're probably not going to be your best friends in a year. But if it does that moment in time,
makes you comfortable to try things and go out,
and just introduce you to other people.
That's the thing. Like if you are nervous about like making friends, like that's a good way of thinking about it. If you're meeting someone, they might not be lifelong. They might just be like the stepping stone for you to meeting like your true friends, which I know that's not the best way. Don't be like using people, try and make connections. That's not what I mean. But like, you maybe don't have to go into it thinking like, this is going to be my best friend. She's going to be like my maid of honor. Maybe it's just like, we really enjoyed freshers together. That's it.
I think there's an idea that if you're and if you have a friend and it's just like almost transactional and you go to things together because you don't know anyone else, or like in your class, I think there's this idea that that's a really bad thing to have because you're not really friends with them. But I think you can have friends for different things, and if that friend is to help you settle in, and then you're both going to go down your separate ways, I actually think it's more detrimental to force it, because then that's when you have the big explosions. Because if you didn't force it, then you probably would have just run your course on your own.
As long as you both finish like needing each other at the same time, like
and it's not like one or the other.
You don't want to like, I'm actually going to hang out with this new person I've met now, but they still need you because they've not met anyone yet, but you just have to be really kind of organic with it and be open to friendships. And
if it doesn't happen straight away, it is okay. That's all I can say, really. Like, it is fine. It's going to be, like, lonely at times. But, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. Some people come along at a later point. You just have to almost be, and I will probably get into this a lot more later on, but comfortable within yourself and, like, you know what you're doing. Okay, so another one is, it's kind of similar, but less, like, friendship building. And it's finding people to trust and rely on. That actually is really nerve-wracking, because even if, you know, it comes down to I'm not making friends or whatever, but even if it's at uni, like a teacher or a guidance person, someone that you can turn to, like anyone that you can just trust to say things to.
Or like even a safety thing is that even like when you moved and we were both in Leicester, it felt really weird because I was like, if anything happens, we're not there to help. And I understand that we're all adults and that's part is that you're not going to have, say, your parents there with you. But even I was home alone for one night and I was really ill and there was no one home. And I was like, there is no one around to help. And if you had nobody in the city with you, then...
It's even things... just like the day-to-day, like, you know, if you moved and you didn't know anyone else and you were alone, so if you're not like a fresher in uni and you've literally just moved into a brand new like place, it could be something as simple as you only have like a can for dinner, like a can of beans, and you don't have a can opener. Who can you trust that you can just like literally run over real quick, grab one? Because we had that, and then this isn't a like who can you trust like that, because it's very miscellaneous. But for around like Thanksgiving time, we wanted to do a big roast and we didn't have potato peelers, so we had to go to another flat to get a potato peeler. And it's like having those people for things, if that makes sense.
We had a spider in our house, in our second year house, and we had to ask our neighbour to come get it for us. And it wasn't until after he took the spider out that he was like, I'm really scared of spiders. And we had just made him take this spider out of our house.
But it's even like in this case, like we don't know that many people on our street. Like, yeah, we have each other at this point, so it's not quite like that. But even knowing that next door is a really nice person, next door is a nice family, like to build a community, even if it's not your friends, I think it's definitely important. And it would make me nervous if it was like a house or flat, especially a flat, because you're in a block with X amount of strangers.
Yeah, I met my flatmates like the first night. So I met two of the flatmates that I'm living with the first night that I moved in. It did feel weird not having... I feel like when you move to a new place or something, that first night you want to do something social just to get you into it. And I didn't have that. I was just sat at home like alone that night, and I tried to stay busy, like organising my room and stuff, so you don't get that like, oh my god, I'm in the middle of the city, I don't know anybody. But it would have been nice to do something social that night just to get me straight into it. But I also moved on a Sunday and I had work the next day, and then I met people at work straight away. Like, I did have that bit of social, because otherwise you also go ages just not speaking. You know, when you're on your own and you're like, I haven't spoken to anybody.
I always have that
in ages. Like, I'm listening to music, but like I haven't used my voice yet. You know, somebody, you know, you walk across the street and somebody will say hi, and every so often I'll be like, and I'm like, because I've not spoken yet that day.
I
like,
even get that sometimes when I'm at work, if I've like...
That's not even got anything to do with what we were talking about.
This is also not going to. Yeah, like sometimes when I'm at work and I'm on a certain task and I won't even like open my mouth for a while, and like I'm not gonna name drop because it's actually gonna make me cringe, but there's one person will say hi but it will take me by surprise, and it's happened multiple times where I'll say hi back, my voice breaks, and then I think about it for like an hour after, or like he's just gone home or something.
No need for that to be so awkward.
And I'm like, oh, I can't believe that, I'm just gonna have to quit now, like that's cringe.
But I think that's one of a lot of these things, it's like, that's a concern. But everyone does it. Everyone moves at some point. People move countries.
And like my first week is over already. It's done.
It's gone so quickly as well.
Yeah, and that first day of like, oh, they're all having a conversation, like at work, they're all having a conversation, but like I don't want to input because I don't know, they're all talking about personal things right now that I don't know of, and I don't know how to, like, that's already been and gone, and like I already have built a little bit of a bond with them all to be able to just joining in conversations and stuff. Like, it goes so quickly, and you go from not knowing someone whatsoever to being friends with them so quickly. It just happens.
We say on the show a lot that it's about faking it until you make it, and it's so true. Because if you treat everyone at work like your besties, or you treat your neighbours like besties, like you leave and you've never met this woman but she's also leaving her house at the same time, and you're just like, no, you're right, then that's the hard bit done, because you're not going to have any awkwardness. If something then happened and you needed to go and ask your neighbour to climb over their fence because you got locked out, like, you can do that because they've seen your face, they know you're friendly, and you've not had to have that awkward, like, oh, I don't know if you know me, I don't know, we're going to get along. Whereas if you're just like, hi.
My boss kept telling me to introduce myself to people, and I was like, that's my least favourite part. I can have a conversation with you and not say, oh, I'm Caitlin, by the way. Like, I will just start talking to you. I won't introduce myself. And then I got to the point where I was like, right, I feel good. And then I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't say, like, oh, my name's Caitlin, by the way. Like, I've just started. And she was like, yeah, like, it's really nice to meet you, actually. And I was like, that was the so bare easy. Minimum, and that's the bare minimum. Yeah, but I would rather just speak to that person and not introduce myself to them. But then you have that awkward, like, I also had that thing of like, oh God, I can't remember everyone's names, and they're going to end up asking me to like get this person. I'm going to be like, who's that again?
Yeah, I had that at work for like a year.
But it helps with like people's emails, and people's emails have their photos on them as well. So I got there. I don't have everyone on social media either. That always helps when you can do that. You know, when someone's like, oh, add me on Instagram, and I'm like, oh yeah, just type in your
how do you spell it?
Yeah, how do you spell it? Yeah. I'm like, okay.
I think a lot of this is, again, it's the difference between whether you're going as a student or going as a job. Because if you're going as a student, everyone is in this, I'm kind of awkward, we're all going to this new place, and it's the like forced socialization. Yeah. But if you're going into a job where other people, they're just in the flow of their life, and you've just
they don't
like dropped yourself in it.
But like they've already got their friendships, they don't need you.
You're playing catch up, and they're just doing day to day.
But you need them.
But if it's a student life, all of your timelines begin at the same time, because you all have this move-in date. But you're just placing yourself in on it.
And you all want to go to the club for the first time. You all want to. You all need to go to the shops to do your food shop because you've got nothing in. You all need to go to Argos because you don't have like a mattress topper or something, you know, like you all need to do those things so you can just do them together.
Yeah, but then it's like if you just moved into a house share and you're with like a 35-year-old, you have to bridge the gap between your life and theirs because there's so much like in the middle that you just don't know.
But I'm so much more comfortable with that. Like, I'm so much more comfortable just like going to speak to my flatmate in the lounge for the first time and just starting a conversation and that flowing really well than I ever would be starting a conversation with someone at work who's superior to me. I always say like there's something about me that if you're on the same level, I will chat to you so easily and I can be so social, but when it comes to like a work setting or somewhere where I feel like that person's superior to me, I just like.
Did you find that at uni with like your, I don't know how your course worked, but with like seminar leaders?
Ours were very young and social. We didn't really have seminars because everything was just that. All the classes were quite small. We would have a couple of lectures here and there, but even they would be very interactive.
So did you find that you were still able to be friendly with them even though they were?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we followed each other on Instagram and stuff. Like,
really?
Because they help you with your career. Like, I always say that when I'm a bit older and more experienced, I wouldn't mind being like going like working as a teacher or something, because I always respected that my lecturers and teachers were in the industry as well as being teachers. And then like one of the most recent ones I had in Manchester, she then got us like work experience as well through her work. Like, it's nothing to do with the uni, it was completely separate, but that meant that like we were all helpful to each other. Like, if we could help them with their actual work and it not be anything to do with uni. So and they're all young and they all like just.
Is it an age thing, do you think? If they're young, it's easier because you are kind of like on the similar not path, but just
then
similar
I feel
wavelength.
like there's more competition as well when they're younger. It's like, because when you're a makeup artist, if you've got the skill, you can very easily just kind of go and then end up being a little bit of a threat to somebody as well. Like you also want to come back and lecture when you've got all of that experience, so you're handing it to them instead of being in that same like pool of competition. But yeah, I wouldn't mind going back to a school and like showing what I'd learn in the future.
That was so interesting. I love the tangent as well. Like, I really enjoyed that.
Sweet.
Like, I don't know how to now say that someone would be nervous about not knowing where the nearest shop or takeaway is, but I think that is so valid because we only found our probably like go-to chip shop place in the last year. Maybe
You just have to wander around, don't you? And like TikTok where you are, like obviously if you're in London it's easier because there's stuff everywhere. If you're like out in the sticks a little bit, then you can't really do that. But I know that I like looked up stuff on TikTok and found things to do, and just went for a wander. Like I looked like I had nowhere to go, but I think that's first Sunday after I moved in, I just went for a walk just to see what was around me. There was no purpose. I wasn't really going for anything. If you are going for something, at least then you have like somewhere you're going and then whatever you see on the way.
I think I find that harder though. If I have somewhere I'm going, I'm not thinking about what else I see, whereas if we go through phases where we just wander in a direction, we just see where it goes. And that's when I start to see like, oh, that restaurant looks nice, we should go there sometimes. Just if I'm going to a set place, I'm not thinking about anything else, but I'm very one track.
And I've already got that from this week. Like my walk home from work, I was already saying to you two, like there's a place that I want to go to because it looks really pretty. And there was a gorgeous street that I didn't get to walk past. So one day, instead of just walking straight home, I just took a little detour to walk down that street and like see a little bit more of where I am. But yeah, I've already got a list of like things that I want to see just from walking home. And when you're in London, you really should, you can get to everything nice and quickly and whatever, but those places that are nice and close to you, like that's stuff that you don't get when you live in other places. They're like the fact that you can walk 5 minutes from your house and there'd be like a really cool bar. You don't get that everywhere. So I feel like they're the things that you need to enjoy.
I think that's what makes you feel more comfortable in a big city as well. Is I always say with our bit that we live in, it feels small and it even feels a bit like a small village because I know everywhere that there is. I know where the line is to the next place. I know most of the walking routes. And London is huge. You can have I still go to places that I've never been to before and I have no idea where anything is.
It has such a different vibe to it as well. Like we went to Snaresbrook and we were like, this is so different to like, it's like their own little thing, and it's also like self-sufficient,
and it's only like a few stops away from us. And I think by walking around, I think that's one of the joys of moving to a new place. I think it's fair to be nervous about it, but I also think that's kind of fun, is getting to see what your nearest takeaway is and things like that. But I think I see why it's scary, but I think you just need to flip that one and be like, no, it's exciting.
And because I'm in a full-time job for this time as well, I don't have all the time in the world to go and explore. Like I've got obviously after work, and we are in the summer, so like the sun's not going down anytime soon after I finish work. But then it gets to the weekend and I'm like, right, I need to go and explore and go see where I am and go do it all, because I don't want to be here in 6 months and still have loads of things that I haven't done yet. But at the same time, you're always gonna have things. Like take it slowly. I'm living here now. There's no time limit on it. Like I've got a job. It's not a 6 month contract. Like I'm here, so I don't need to do everything straight away. I can just enjoy being here.
Side note is that I'm such a like screenshotter of things and places that I see online, and then I will never go back and look. And this probably does exist, but I'd love like an app or something. This is a shit I'm gonna like describe like Instagram or something. But I'd love to be able to like screenshot a restaurant and then put it somewhere and have little files located and like this one was in East, this one was in North.
You can do that. So when I went to Barcelona recently, we did all we got all the restaurants that we wanted to go to, or just every single thing that we'd seen on TikTok, every single place that somebody had recommended to us, and I got it all on Apple Maps, and I starred them all into one folder, so that if we were in a certain place seeing something else, I could just go on my maps and be like, right, what have we already starred that we already know of that's near us?
Oh my god, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, that's such a good idea.
It was really helpful, and now it's in my phone, so if somebody ever goes to Barcelona, I can show them that. If I ever go back again, like,
that's so clever, because that's exactly what I mean. And even, well, I guess that can only be for like restaurants and stuff, but even things not on maps, you know, like books. This is way like off topic, but for books and stuff, I also screenshot stories of books.
Such a screenshotter.
Yeah, just things that I would like to get or do at some point.
You wish that it already went into like the files that you wanted to go into.
Just save it when you like. The new feature with iPhones is you screenshot it, it goes in the corner. If you click on the screenshot, you can put it straight into an album.
Yeah.
I have never clicked the corner picture.
Never.
I don't do it unless
you screenshot and then you can delete it.
I will delete it. That's the only thing. But
I would like go to get rid of it, and then it will ask me what I want to do with it, and I'm like, obviously I want it in my photos because that's why I took it, the screenshot.
I always see you clicking on it.
I always click it. I love that feature. But I have weird features that I like on my phone.
And also, my phone's not the most updated as well. So I know it probably doesn't have as much as what you can do on yours. I don't even have the new emojis, any of them. I don't have the pink heart.
This is a better phone than me. So.
But it's not, I don't have the storage to upload it. I think it's like a rounding off to this, like, what makes you nervous thing. Obviously, if you guys have any big ones as well. I made a note and I said, okay, ready? I would be and I've literally written it as if I would say it. I have this thing about hyping up things and then worrying about if they will live up to the hype. When I moved to London, it was a question of, will I regret this? I'm also a dreamer, so will it compare to my dreams? And I don't even mean that in a like physiological
philosophical
in that way.
You said it grabbed me. Like, you knew there was no coming back from
I was saying it and I'm like, the lyrics.
The syllables.
It's not wording. Anyway, I mean, physically, I am a dreamer. If I have something coming up, I will dream about it and I will start trying to create like synapses in my head about what I'm going to think about it.
100%. Because everyone at like my old work and stuff was like, you're going to have such an amazing time. This is going to be the best time of your life. This is going to be this and that. And I kept just saying to them, like, stop. Because yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it could be the best time of my life, but also please don't.
You don't want to set
that on me.
Unrealistic expectations for it.
And I also wanted to make sure that I was setting up whatever I'm going to do here well enough that it's not going to time out in a year. Like I keep saying, like I didn't want like, oh, I'm going to do London for a year and then I'm going to want to move back home. Like I really didn't want to feel like I needed to go back home after it. I just wanted to set up a new life here. And if that means, just taking it slowly, then that's what I'm going to do. Everyone kept being like, this is going to be the best time. You're going to like find yourself. And I was like, hold on, like I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear you say that. I just want no expectations.
I think when I stopped seeing London as a big thing and I stopped being so obsessed with the fact that I'd moved to London like from the countryside was when I started to enjoy it more, because I wasn't thinking I'm going to do this because I'm in London. I'm going to go out every Friday night because I'm in London, and just started doing things. And now I have the small joys where sometimes I sit down and I'm like, this is crazy that I'm just living. I say this to you all the time. Like, it's so crazy that we're just living here and I can just go to a show and I can just go home. And that is what I wanted when I was a teenager. But when I first came here, that there was so much pressure on. I always wanted to do this, so I need to do it right. But the moment I stopped thinking about it and I stopped seeing it as this big thing was when it was actually more fun and I made the most of it being a big thing.
I think like similarly, I said that right. I think was once I stopped thinking, and this I'm thinking about like first year, once I stopped thinking like it has to always be okay, it made it more okay, because I was like, why am I not enjoying it as much as I should be? I've done this huge move and now I have like friends and people and whatnot, and like, you know, I'm like doing okay at uni. Like, why is it not like hitting the way I thought it was going to? And you know what? Holly Humberstone said it herself. The song London is Lonely. Oh my god. if you don't, have you heard the song?
Maybe.
It literally just hits in a way like no other. Like, if I'd have had that in my first year of uni, I think it firstly would have given me a breakdown, but also perspective of like other people, like not everyone's loving London in this like, it's the best city in the world kind of way.
It's
like
a great place to live, but it's a place to live.
And
like you're still here and you're working.
Yeah.
And it's grey sometimes.
and the stresses are still present.
People are mean.
It's
no one smiles
real
at you
life.
down the street.
I mean, you can have an idea that it's going to be one thing, but I don't know.
It's just a place to live and work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in that place where I'm like, I'm almost waiting until like I move into that next flat, and I'm waiting until this and that, and I just need to enjoy it right now. Like,
I had that moving into this house. If people know like the backstory of our like living, the Blonde Vibrations law, if when I moved into this house after our housing situation was like horrible in our second year of living here, but then I moved here and I was really happy with my room and I was happy with our housemates and everything, but everything wasn't just fixed because I was in a nice house, and then I was like, is there something wrong with me because I'm still not content? And then I had to actually deal with the fact that it wasn't a housing thing, it was like a personal thing. But I put so much on, I'm going to move to this house and everything's going to be perfect. And then it didn't, because it's just a room. And it's no different.
And that problem just kind of moves to something else.
And that goes from whether you're moving cities or moving houses. Moving to a city is not going to fix everything, and it is going to be scary.
But it gives you a new perspective and a new chance.
Absolutely.
A new go at things. I was saying that in my old job I wasn't able to like move much. I didn't have much time to like do loads of exercise and stuff, and even just moving here, the fact that I'm able to like, walk to work and stuff, it clears my head, and it just makes me, even if I do nothing else that day, the fact that I've walked to and from work just makes me feel good, and then I want to do more of it because I started the day off right. So I feel like that in itself, even if I do nothing else, that has been a good like step for me, or a good a good change.
I think like, I don't think this is the right wording, but a good like antidote for the nerves of what could be is all of those things are very valid and they could happen. You might not make the friends, or it might not be great to begin with, but that's not the entirety of your move. Like, you move for a reason and a purpose. If it's uni, you're getting your degree, the friends will come along at some point, like when you're not looking. Or if it's like the job and you can't quite like juggle the other things like the gym, the walking, whatever, like things will balance out at some point, even if there are like the peaks and troughs. But you've moved for your job, which you wanted, so you're here for a reason. Like, you want to be here. Otherwise, like, quite bluntly, you wouldn't have uprooted. Like, you wanted to be here for a reason, so like it will work out at some point, even if it isn't just that immediate like click. Thanks. Thank you so much.
And just like ad libs on the side, like
all right, cool.
And
I also think this is kind of a good segue. We are saying a lot of this from the perspective of us going to a city with no one. This would all be so different if you had an entire like group of people already there waiting for you.
I have a friend who is moving literally like 15 minutes from us, like practically the distance you are from us, and he moved from Suffolk to Essex for uni on his own. He's now moving from Essex to East London with four other housemates, and they are all moving from Essex to London into a house of 5. And I think that is the craziest scenario.
How have they all made that happen together?
Like, the chances of that working out.
He was looking for a 5-bedroom house in East London. I was like, you're not going to get that. Like, you'd be lucky. And then he just texted me and was like, I've got a 5-bed house in Hackney. See you soon.
So we have a poll that's kind of relevant to this, because you've just explained like two like stark contrasts. Either go with like group of people. I mean, there is some middle ground. You kind of got the middle ground. You've not walked into a situation where everyone from home is. You've not just like picked up Leicester and put it here, but then you're not entirely on your own. So we asked you guys the poll. Did you look at the?
I did, but I didn't know which one's which.
Okay, so we asked you, would you move to a city where you know no one? Okay, someone said, well, I guess I don't know. Number 1 was yes, because I love the thrill of a place on my own. And then number 2 was, well, it would be nice to have a few mutuals, just a couple of people dotted. And number 3, like, no, need people there to feel some kind of comfort.
Nobody picked. I'm so surprised that nobody picked.
Did you look at the...
No, I can just see.
Okay, well, I'll ask you then, because we guess which one is...
Oh, sorry.
We guess the poll answer.
Okay, what percentage-wise, and what won? You know what won, so hush, but what won?
I need some people.
Yeah, and then what do you guys think the percentages are? You just looked again.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I think it's close, like, I don't know, I just tried to say 50-40, but I'm aware that's not up to 100.
Oh. You're quite close.
55-45. Does that add up?
Yeah. It's 41% said yes, place of my own. 59% said it would be good to have a few mutual people.
This is crazy that no got none, because I didn't vote, and I actually think I might have voted for no. I actually don't know if I could move to a city completely on my own.
Did you know people when you came to London?
Not in person, but I knew people in the group chats.
For uni, it's also different.
But I had friends that I had made online when I moved to London, so I don't think I could have done it without knowing anyone.
I think that plays a part in it. It's like, have you got something lined up? Have you got a job where you know that when you get there you're going to meet people? Are you moving into a 6-person flat where you're probably going to make friends with someone?
Like on my first night of uni, I went to pre-drinks with someone that I had known for online for like 6 months, if not longer.
Wow.
So
is that because you knew you were going to that uni for that long?
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I actually could uproot my life and not know anyone. But I am not a very I like having people. I'm not a very not independent. Yeah, I'm not dependent on people, but I don't
prefer it.
Yeah, I don't really like being alone for extended periods of time.
And I don't think it's necessarily a harsh negative to say that you're dependent on people.
No.
Because it's a dog-eat-dog world out here. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to have some of your friends around.
I like my own company, but I like the company of others more.
Yeah.
So what would you vote?
I think I would say, I think I did vote that I need a couple of mutuals. And
That's good because you have that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Because I think I meet people best through other people. And I think making like a close friendship, I need like a mutual or something. But I also think, I might just move if I didn't know anyone, but it might just not last long. Yeah. Like I might get there, I wouldn't even think about it, I'll move, I'll get there, and then it just won't last, and I'll end up moving home after so long. So I think, I might do it, but I might not enjoy it as much. I might not live there for as long. It won't last. I'll have to move home. Whereas knowing that you've got a few stable people there already just means that you have that support system if you need it when you're there, even if you're not going to rely on them all the time, even if you're not that close to them.
Just to have some people.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not about to harshly disagree with everything you just said, but in terms of the way you said you make friends the best through mutual friends, I feel like I am kind of the opposite way inclined, because I can be very introverted to some people and very extroverted to others, just dependent on how I perceive them.
Yeah,
so
I am.
If you were like, I've got this friend, I think you guys should go for coffee or something, I am so like the most comfortable I could ever be with you.
Yeah.
And I imagine you've probably told them, she's really fun, she's
they know the characters.
Yeah. So then if I show up, not with the expectation, but if I show up thinking like, I don't know how I'm gonna like whatever, and then I meet them and I'm like, there's something in me that I can't
be myself. I can't live up to what.
Yeah, even if it's nothing on them, it's just I'm a bit quiet, break down like the ice wall or whatever, then I'm like,
oh my god, 100%, yeah.
But if it was a completely like new person, then I kind of decide at what point I would like to like let certain things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, because you can control what comes out and when. Whereas if everyone knows everyone, then people probably know things about you before you've met them.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I don't know, I think there's comfort in that. in the
you have to explain yourself.
Know what to expect. And even like, you know, like a blanket statement of someone just being like, oh yeah, she's nice. But a fresh slate, you can really prove yourself and you can pick what goes out.
I don't know if I do have any like weird interest, but you know, if you said to someone like, oh, she's like really weirdly obsessed with X show or something, and then they were like, oh, tell me about it then. I'm like really shy and I'm thinking I can't like give you all the details, like that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? But I did vote that I would go to a place completely on my own.
On your own. So we've got one of each.
Yeah, well, I feel like maybe I did do that. Like, yeah, because we had
formed many friendships.
We had,
but again, I just feel like uni is that it's different.
We had like the flat group chat, but it was very basic, and I'm not even sure I clicked on everyone's profiles. Like, it really wasn't like that. But I have my arguments for that, so I want to know if you guys like really disagree.
Okay. My other opinion is that I also, so when I went to uni, this time I'm doing it more on my own. When I went to uni, I moved with my friends, and as much as that was so nice because I had somebody the whole time, it also meant that I just didn't branch out as much.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
I did make friends there. Like, when I look back, I did, like, I had friends and all of it, but makeup was quite different. A lot of the people that went to uni for makeup didn't move. They went to the one that was in their city. So me and my friend were like some of the only people in our class that were living in student accommodation. So we couldn't make friends in our class. It was more just make friends at the accommodation. Like, we could make friends in our class, but not ones that would go on nights out with us and stuff, because they lived at home. But yeah, it definitely changed how, like, I didn't need to make friends. I didn't have that like necessity. I could just be content with her. And
this is kind of like on the same line. So I said that like the new place entirely on your own is that you can make your own narrative with it instead of falling into the patterns of the people already there. And what I mean by that is, so if you go and your entire friendship group's already there, and you know that they go to X club every Friday and X club every Sunday, it's obviously really good to have like built-in plans, but to have the freedom to be like,
actually, I want to go to this bar tonight.
Yeah, or like, I actually don't want to go at all. Like, whatever, I'm just going to do this. And it's kind of making the most beneficial use of your time, and you're like tailoring this new lifestyle instead of like not conforming, because if you're friends and like-minded,
what they have already done.
Yeah, so I said like it just forces you to think outside of like the everyday, because everything is new. And I also made this small example is, if I went with a big friendship group and they're all like meat eaters and they want to go to this steakhouse because that's what they do every Sunday, but on that Sunday there's like a vegan market. If I'm the only one coming to that situation, am I going to be like, I really want to go to that vegan market on my own, and all my friends are going to the other place, I'll probably go with them, even if it's not
what you want to do, because you don't want to be left out because you have your set group.
Then there's also the politics of like, if you do want to branch out and be like, I know you guys, but I'm going to be very independent over this end of things. Are they going to be like, what? Like,
probably. A lot of they're all very social together.
They'll be like, why does she not want to hang out with us? Like,
she just moved here.
Does she think there's something wrong with how we do things?
Yeah, like, she thinks she's better than us.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then, on the flip side of that, in some ways, if you did have like your mutual friends there, then it does like, it cuts out the middleman of having to like sift through everything to know what you do and don't like.
And they can give you that really quick, like
if you
these
are
all the places
friends.
we already go,
these are the
and
good
then you
places.
can just expand from that.
Like
you still have your independence, but they're gonna cut out all of the initial learning for you, because you can already get used to it.
Yeah, because even, for example, when I deal with people who are moving to the city when I'm at work, and they're like, I have no idea what's around, and I can say, I've been here for many years. This bar's good, this cafe's good.
But
it
that's
means
not
that
to
you're
say that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think seeing it on that smaller scale, I'm not friends with them, but that is
last night
how
we
it
had
works.
the recommendation for that bar. We went and we had a great time, and now we're thinking about going to like another one of those,
and we did that as a group, and it wasn't an independent thing. Like, we had both thought it. I think we probably thought it before we even really knew each other as well, and then we told you. But that's the perk of moving somewhere where you know people, and you would have done that on your own, but it probably would have been slower.
And you might have gone to like a place that wasn't as nice first and then gone to
because it probably depends on the type of people that you already have there. They're like really like your guys' like personalities and interests mesh really well. Like you coming here, we have things we could be like, oh, Caitlin would love that, like a certain like Columbia Road Flower Market you just love, like we'll probably take you there at some point. It's not like it's like, oh, this random person we kind of know and we just have to throw like tourist things at you, like and then you're like, why are you doing that?
It's not like you guys have loads of like I have loads of expectations on you guys to like show me this or
show you
do
the
this
city.
with me. We need to go out every Friday. Like just because I've just moved here doesn't mean that I want like everything at once.
Because you still want to deal with your experiences.
Yeah, and I know you guys have been here for a while, so like I'm not here. I'm new, but I don't need you to also do all the things too as if you're both new.
Yeah.
And I think I guess it also really is a question of how happy you were in your past city or village or place or whatever, because with the like, if you could just pick up Leicester, for instance, Suffolk and put it in London, you could. Is it because
you could have such a Leicester coded experience in London? Like that would be so easy to do.
The amount of people that move from Leicester to London are actually insane. Yeah. I personally feel, and if anyone from home is watching this isn't at anyone, I personally felt like I outgrew Leicester and I just wanted more, in a sense of I wanted to be in a bigger place, a lot more like of a happening place. So if I took everyone and everything, circumstances and stuff, and brought it to London, I personally feel like where's my growth from that, because everything would just be the same as is. It's really nice to have the comfort of some people, like the old and the new, you guys, like blending together is really nice. But if everywhere I looked was just a different person from home, I'd be like, why did I move?
Yeah, this is where I was going to go with it, because I feel like when I was at home, I couldn't get past like something that had happened last year. It's something that, don't get me wrong, we all love talking about like the past and stuff that's happened, but I would go on a night out and I would see that person that so and so already got on
catching up.
Yeah, and then like this drama happened and like I was just not there for it anymore. Like it's always nice to go back to a place that you're comfortable with. But I feel like I would go on a night out and we would talk about stuff or see people every time that I didn't want to see.
It kind of gives, you know, when Carrie in Sex and the City went out with her like high school crush or something, she was like, it felt like I was going out with my high school crush. It would be that, like if I brought all my home friends, it would be like I was growing up in Leicester. And if you still get along, if you have your same like core group, then you could really like that. But you know, like my people were dotted about anyway. Like I didn't really have like a group. It was the odd people, so like I wouldn't mind if they came here because it's very spread out anyway, so I don't have like a group. Do you know what I mean?
In order to grow, it sounds so cheesy, but in order to grow, you do need to push yourself out of your comfort zone.
And
by moving it, you can do it the most.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it means you have to move cities either. For me, this was just something so that I could move out of my home, my family home. Like if I didn't move to London, I would still be living in my family home. So for me, this was the jump, and London just so happened to be it. And there's more jobs here than I could like wish for anywhere else. But it wasn't necessarily like always the dream either. It wasn't the plan, and I don't think I needed it to grow. But I also just think I'm 23 and like may as well just live this bit and see if anything comes of it. Like I'm very much, I don't need to be in my hometown. So let's just see if
something sticks here, then it sticks. If not, you'll try out another city. You've still got time, like you're still young.
Because some people want to stay in their hometown, and that's also completely fine. Because if you just happen to have grown up in a place that really suits you.
I do have that thing now though, like if I move home after this, I move back to my hometown, I feel like, not I failed, but like
there is that stigma.
Like, oh, she's gone back home. And I know as long as I don't go back into my family, like my family keeps saying like, no, I think this is it now, you have moved out, and even if you move back to Leicester, like you're out of the house, you're never going to go back.
Because there's no need for you to.
No, not at all.
Because financially you've done the jump.
Yeah, but the only past experience that I've got is like uni and then going back home. Yeah. So it feels like at some point this is going to end and I'm going to move back home. So I do have that, like, I need this to last, I need this to go well so that this is it now and I'm moved out. But I think that also depends on like who you meet. If you find a boyfriend in this place, like I always said, if I move to London and I find a partner like here from this place, then I would just go that way too. Like I'm very open to just following whatever.
I'd really like to do a whole episode with you about like relationships and your perspective on things, because we've spoken a lot very like frankly about like perspectives on relationships and stuff. So if you guys would like that, let us know, because we're all like very similarly minded, all have different experiences. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And some things are fresh and
topical.
Hi guys, it's Editor Becky here. That is the end of part 1. Please check back next week for part 2. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye.